Like
Mm.
having fun bagpiping, a byproduct of that will also be taking lots of prizes. A byproduct of that will also be getting upgraded to the next level in your pipe band organization
Mm.
or whatever. Have fun with it. Yeah, but I'm not doing that again. You really embarrassed me the last time. I was doing my vocal warm-ups
That was a good
and
intro.
you just put it right at the beginning of the show.
It probably has an endearing effect,
Well, no,
like
the
when
problem is, here's the thing, and we've talked about this, but the horrifying realization I've come to is that people who I look up to sometimes listen to this show. First of all, what is secretly going on behind the scenes of these people who I admire that they've stooped so low as to be
has consumed your
scrolling social
content.
media and consuming this content? I'm concerned.
Yeah.
If I wasn't so busy with my own death scrolling on social media, maybe I'd reach out to them and see if they need help.
Yeah.
No, no vocal warm-ups there. What do we got on the docket today? By the way, we have a loose strategy to form the foundational content of season 2. Even though we're 3 or 4 episodes into season 2 already, it should comfort the listener to know that a plan is
We won't be meandering all the rest of the year or anything like that.
Nope. So we have a topic. Jim, you're going to read out a post on the Bob Dunsire forums.
Yes, that's right. So on Bob Dunsire, Idaho Piper dropped this post that I found really relatable. I feel like I go through this cycle probably annually. And
the answer, just right away, the answer is too many potatoes and not enough protein. Although they must
How
have a
dare
lot of
you.
protein. They must have a lot of protein in Idaho, like a lot of livestock, a lot of cattle. So maybe that's not the issue. Okay, we better just listen to the actual content then before we prescribe
dietary advice. Yeah, gotcha.
Mhm.
So heading is stamina advice,
Okay.
returning to piping.
Yep.
After a lengthy hiatus, I have returned to my pipe band. Although I continued to play in short stints, my first 2-hour band practice just about killed me. So, in your opinion, in order to get your stamina back quickly, is it better to practice in one long session or several shorter sessions throughout the day? Is it better to practice every day or to have a day between practice days until your stamina increases? Discuss.
Yeah.
Really relatable for, I don't know about you, Andrew. Maybe you've been in shape and stayed in shape your entire piping career, but for me, it's like this cycle. Like I say, at least annually, you realize it's not coming out right.
I just want to rewind. Did you say you're sure I stay in shape and so I always have good stamina? Is that what you said?
I'm saying maybe that's the case for you, that your bagpiping fitness, we might call it, because you know how that's what it feels like, isn't it? With bagpiping, when you haven't played for a while and you get it out again, it's not just your lungs, it's not just your stomach, it's not just your shoulder, it's like everything is like out of sync or something. Maybe you've always been in top form since you started piping when you were a kid.
Totally.
But I have not.
No, I don't think that I have. I think that my stamina is clipping as we speak, Jim.
Even as we sit here.
Yeah, not doing a ton of playing after the peak season where your stamina would be a little bit better. So I have a wide variety of things are jumping off the page. Thing number 1 is, why did we take a big hiatus?
Yeah.
That's the first thing that jumped out at me. I'm coming back after a long hiatus, and I was thinking to myself, why do people do that? Like, I totally understand. I take occasional long hiatuses, I guess, but 2 years is really long. Why did we leave for 2 years?
Yeah, and that is a long time. They did say that they play in short stints. Like, they probably are still playing by themselves every once in a while. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure we've all seen it, that like people will come and go from our bands, and often the cause is having more kids. I can speak to that one. Or going to college, change of career, that kind of thing.
Why does going to college mean you can never play your pipes?
You know, as a guy who never went to college, I can't really speak to it, but I have a lot of younger siblings who've gone to college, and it does strike me as not necessarily the college experience specifically, but the human experience, that whatever you're doing, you assume that you're at 100% capacity. You're just too busy for anything else.
Yeah.
Like, my kid who's going to junior high thinks he's too busy for anything right now. And I'm like, dude, you played 2 hours of video games today.
Are you planning to not play Xbox for the next 4 years? I don't think you are, right?
How often do we hear people say 2-year hiatus from Xbox?
Or they're not going to have time to play when they're in college. So why? Why can you keep playing Xbox in college, and not keep playing the pipes.
Yeah. I wonder if one aspect of this might be that we get accustomed to the ways in which we play bagpipes. That I go to band practice Tuesday nights, and on Wednesday during my lunch break, I play this kind of thing. And maybe if the thing in our life that changes is I can't make it to band practice Tuesday nights, then instead of going, oh, then I'll just play my pipes at a different time, there's something in us that just goes, oh, then I can't play pipes.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's part of it, maybe. A change of routine makes it go, oh, then I have to throw it all out the window, rather than, oh, now I'll find where else I could slip it.
I have a different hypothesis. My hypothesis is we've given up on having fun with the bagpipes a long time ago.
Oh, okay. So that makes comparing it to your Xbox time really appropriate. So it's like, it's not like, I love this, of course I'll keep doing it. It's like it's a chore. And so I've got to drop it to make room for other things I have to do, because it's a have to do, not a fun to do.
And by the way, this is just a hypothesis. I could be completely wrong. But my hypothesis is we've given up on bagpiping being fun a long time ago. I think that a lot of people, the fun that people get out of bagpiping doesn't have that much to do with bagpiping a lot of the time. So for example, let's say you play bagpipes in a band. You're not actually having fun playing the bagpipes. You're just having fun socializing with the people in your band. And without bringing any negative judgments into it, maybe you have fun getting dressed up in a kilt and going out in public and making people happy and want to drink and drawing a little bit of attention to you and your band and stuff. Maybe that's fun, but the actual playing of the instrument has stopped being fun for a lot of people a long time ago. And especially, and I've known a lot of kids, hundreds. I'm just double checking my math to see if I think that's true. I've met hundreds of kids that quit playing bagpipes the moment they went to college. What's up with that? What's up with that? It doesn't make any sense. And let's say you don't play Xbox, right? What about Netflix or whatever?
Yeah.
Or what about listening to music? I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of people quit playing sports too. People go to college, and if they're great athletes, they continue to play sports.
Sure.
I mean, Jim, you haven't been to college, but you'll know that when you go to college, everyone's supposed to play ultimate frisbee.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I've played frisbee on college campuses. Like, I've had that experience.
It's just strange to me because I've never really stopped playing bagpipes for very long because I have so much fun with it.
So it's not that we're like casting sort of like a moral aspersion or something here, being like, you're playing bagpipes for the wrong reasons. But it is an interesting sort of like forensic experience to go like, oh yeah, actually, as I think of these situations that I can imagine, a lot of them are a change in social circle. And so it's not, I'm moving away, so I'm not going to play this instrument anymore. It's, I'm leaving the social group with which I play this instrument. So like, why would I keep doing it? Maybe we're not examining our thinking quite that carefully, but maybe that is the underlying reason.
Don't most college kids come home for breaks and for summers? And why wouldn't they want to play pipes when they come home?
Yeah.
Don't.
And I think all the pipe bands would love it if they would.
It's just so really interesting.
Come play some parades while you're home, please.
Yeah. Well, yeah, come play some parades. How many situations can you think of where a kid would play in a band during their teenage years and they would go to college and the kid would not be welcomed back for competition season?
Oh, you kidding?
Despite the fact they couldn't make rehearsals during the winter.
Yeah.
Most bands that I know of, including all the bands I've ever operated, like, please, college kid, come back and play because we really need you in. And the fact that you're going to college and missing rehearsals, no one here is that offended. Please come back. They're like, no, I'm in college now. I can't. I won't have time.
Yeah.
I won't have time to practice. Yeah. I don't know. My hypothesis is that people have lost track of where the fun is, which, by the way, is not unrelated to the crux of the question, which is stamina based. So I can't really remember a time where stamina was super high on my list of things I needed to develop. Like, what's up with that? But I have experienced what this person is talking about, though, where you go to band practice and it absolutely crushes you.
Yeah.
If you were to go do a workout after not working out for a long time, the first one back is going to suck.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot you can do about it. And then you'll get better at it. But I do have a couple of stamina tips.
Yeah, like they ask, for example, should I play a lot one day, take a break, play a lot the next day versus little chunks? What do you think?
None of that. Just have fun, Jim. I'm going to give more background. So play as long as you're having fun. You know how when you have a really busy day and you just ain't got any time for piping?
Mm-hmm.
You like how I use slang there to try and make myself relatable?
Ain't got any time. He's so human. Andrew
Yeah.
Douglas is one of us.
You vote for me. So you just ain't got time for that today. So to force yourself to play for an hour would not be fun. And then maybe you don't play at all because playing at all wouldn't be fun. I
Yeah.
think that's okay in extremely small doses. But like, how about just a quick jig set for a couple minutes and then you're done? And that's what fun would look like today. Not a whole lot more than that. And then meanwhile, there are some days when you're on a roll and you want to play for hours. So you should do that. My advice would be to set your instrument up in a way that makes it fun to play, which is the key. So now it's like physically painful to play. So how often are you going to pick up your pipes and play just for fun?
Yeah, you're just that much way less likely to do even that.
Exactly. It causes me physical pain. So don't do that. Should you practice for 2 hours every day? No, unless that's your idea of a great time, in which case that sounds like a good idea. Whatever's fun is what you should do. But I think the problem is people pick a reed that's too hard or their bagpipe is set up poorly. Those are the two biggest things for stamina that I would recommend. Set up your bagpipe to be easy and enjoyable to play. If you're in a band where they don't allow that, just do it anyway. Don't ask for their permission to do it. Like, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying though? The stereotypical band.
They say
Stereotypical
don't
band.
touch any of your stuff. I'm in charge of your stuff. That kind of
Yeah,
thing.
this is your reed, man. You can do this. This is your reed. You can blow this reed. And it's like, well, if you can't blow it, then the pipe major's not correct about that, right? And if the bagpipe's not comfortable to play for you, then it's not the right setup for you. And so you should just change it. And if the pipe major doesn't like the fact that you keep changing it, you could say, okay, then let's work together to find a reed that we can both live with instead of just unilaterally handing things out. Play something that's comfortable and fun for you to play. That's how you're going to win the stamina battle. That's what I do. I play a bagpipe that's comfortable for me. Occasionally, right, like when I go to Inverary and they give me a new chanter reed or whatever for the season, occasionally I get a reed that's a little bit too hard. Usually I can either bridge the gap by playing it a little bit, and it would be a small gap. It wouldn't be a big gap. But I could bridge a small gap by just playing a little bit more, dialing in my bagpipe setup, and building a little bit of stamina. But if it crushes my soul, I have to give that back and say, that's not going to work. And usually if it's done in the right way, you're not going to get your chanter at band practice. You're going to get it some other time. You're going to play it a little bit.
Yeah.
But then at that point, you're like, yikes, I don't know if this might be a little bit too hard. Or sometimes sometimes you might say this might be a little bit too easy, and so on. But so the stamina thing, it should never be that much on your mind. It should never be on your mind as like, oh my God, how am I going to get the stamina? It might be like, it might be in my interest to play a little bit extra this week to build my stamina up. That makes sense. But anything extreme should be an indicator to you that you should change your approach a little bit.
It does seem like a double whammy of sorts of it. This would be the experience for so many of us that when we do end up not having played for a while, for whatever reason, then when we come back to play, probably our instrument is out of shape.
Yes.
As much as we ourselves are, right? We probably have leaky connections and bad hemp jobs. And if the reed wasn't hard before, it's probably dried up and warped. And so it's really hard now.
Yeah.
So we come back to it thinking, I'm a little out of shape anyway. We blow up that bag. It's like, oh my goodness, that's even harder than I expected it to be.
Yeah. I think there's also the stigma that you should be punished for not playing for a while.
Yes.
And so we just so we self-harm.
A self-flagellation thing.
Yeah. Where it's like, well, I've spent 2 years, so this is going to be hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't deserve the hour to 2 hours of like thinking about my bagpipe maintenance. That would make a lot of sense before I started playing. I don't deserve that. We're just going to dive into it. And that can be, I get it. You want to get moving and you want to get going and just break the ice. But really, even if you go a month without playing, that first day back is going to be basically mostly maintenance and shoring things up.
Yeah. And of course, we've talked about this before, and I've mentioned the experience before, and so like I don't want to take up unnecessary airspace, but at the same time, it was a big deal for me. I really do want to I want to preach this if I can. Like I've wasted hours of struggling with bagpipes. That was the wasted time. The 15 minutes to tighten up my hemp job, that was not wasted time.
Yeah.
Thinking that was going to be wasted time, like, no, I got this thing coming, I just got to play. I don't have time for that. that was such a big mistake. Like all of that was wasted time. Once I tightened
I know.
everything up, it was so much better. So worth that time.
You're so right, Jim. And one of the
Thank you.
things that you can do, if you know you're going to be in a situation where you might get a new read and it might be a little stiff, right? Well, plan for that. One of the things that's helpful when I get to Scotland is I've spent the last several months like preparing my bagpipe to be in absolute best possible maintenance ahead of time. So now you get a new read, and it would have been impossible with bad maintenance, but now with good maintenance, it's not too bad. Personal mantra I live and teach by. You want to know what it is?
I do.
If my bagpipe is not an absolute joy to play, I should stop and fix that problem first.
Mm.
And maybe you do have very low stamina, so we're going to set up a bagpipe for starters that's not extremely difficult. And then as we develop more stamina, we can upgrade our reed and our bagpipe strength if it's in our interest and if it really matters.
Mm.
What would you rather have? A bagpipe that's a little easy but sounds incredible, that allows you to be comfortable and focus on the music that you're playing? Or a hard instrument where those things aren't true?
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously the first one's better. And then are there benefits to playing a harder chanter reed? Yeah, there's a couple of benefits. Like you might get a little bit more volume. You're going to get more stability. Trying to think what else. You might get more crackle off the chanter.
Some of those embellishments do pop a little extra when your reed's just a little bit hard.
Yep. Stability. And by the way, stability kind of includes things like maybe the tuning doesn't change quite as much as you're playing, which is that's really handy. And because it takes so much air to sustain, maybe it kind of limits the crazy unsteady blowing issues that you might have on an easier reed. Like that could be possibly a benefit, although I'm not sold on that. I think the best case scenario would be to learn to blow steadily, right? Which is harder to do on a harder reed, I think. It's harder to learn to blow steadily on a hard reed. Maybe. I don't know. Jury's still out on that one for me. But anyway, yeah, there are some benefits to a harder reed, especially in a pipe band. I get it. But would you rather have a harder reed? Now you can't focus on the music anymore and you're struggling and your pipe is getting wet really fast and you make a lot of mistakes because you can't think clearly. But you got more volume, which by the way, in that case, is volume a good thing? No, we don't want to hear more of the bad, right? So the couple of benefits of a harder reed, but then you sacrifice a whole lot in the process. Or you could play an easier reed and have none of that. You're just missing like maybe a little bit of extra volume, maybe a little bit of extra stability. But even as a pipe major, you've got to see that there's no real benefit to pushing your band members too hard with the hard reeds thing.
When you're in this situation where you're coming back after a while and you're feeling out of shape, then like all those benefits that come with a harder reed, you'll get them pretty soon. But in the meantime, make it easy. Cork some drones, pinch that reed, do what you got to do, right?
I think it's a thing, it's also one of those things where it's a mistake to look up to your heroes. You're just going to let that dangle out there. You know how when you watch a professional athlete and they're pounding the pre-workout protein shakes, I'm trying to think what else athletes do. That's just crazy.
Ice baths.
Yeah, that's a good
sauna
one.
to ice bath to sauna.
Yeah, exactly. If I do an ice bath, I'm just going to probably have a heart attack and die, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, you see them and you're like, oh, an ice bath is what it must take to be successful.
Right.
So you get yourself an ice bath, but you've also skipped the million other things they've done before the ice bath really made a big difference. For example, eating healthy, right?
Yeah.
So you watch an athlete and it's like, I'm eating 14 hot dogs every day. Well, they eat 14 nice pieces
Protein,
of fruit
baby.
and vegetables, right? I'm eating the hot dogs, but the ice bath is what it is. I think the hard reed thing comes from that. So at the very highest level, so when we watch our favorite grade 1 band, we hear tons of volume coming out. We might even hear the pipe majors say, oh yeah, band reeds should be, nowadays you don't hear it as much, but back in the day, it's like, oh yeah, we play hard reeds, we want to get that volume back, whatever. And then you get the idea that, oh, hard reeds is what makes a successful band. That's not really true. The hard reed that's what you're putting on to augment what's already really excellent. Yeah. Maybe just a slightly harder reed packs a little bit more punch. The other hot topic right now is the old Shepherd chanters.
Yeah.
Everybody's on the old Shepherd chanters. Does it help the grade 1 bands? Yes. Does it matter for your grade 2 band or your grade 3 band?
What
Answer
about my
is,
grade 4 or my grade 5 band?
yeah, like grade 4 bands, pony them up. We need them.
Yeah.
Hand over the shepherds. Well, in order to be a good band, you have to play a shepherd chanter now. It's like,
Yeah.
no. The shepherd chanter is like the ice bath. At the highest levels, it seems to help.
Mhm.
But I think there might be a little bit of that going on. How do we end up here from stamina? I don't remember.
Well, if we look at our favorite athletes, maybe they have a lot of stamina, right? Maybe the hard read thing comes from
Yeah.
thinking that the ice bath or whatever is what does it. And that makes me laugh, Andrew, because I'm thinking about when I was younger, there was a time when I had aspirations. And I do remember having days when I'd be sitting there in the evening and realize today I drank a pre-workout. I had 1 or 2 protein shakes. I didn't exercise. I didn't work out.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So anyway, read the Bob Dunsair thing for me one more
Yeah,
time
you bet.
from Idaho Piper.
So, after lengthy hiatus, I have returned to my pipe band. Although I continued to pipe in short stints, my first 2-hour band practice just about killed me.
Okay, so he or she did continue to pipe in short stints.
In short stints, yes.
Okay.
So in your opinion, in order to get your stamina back quickly, is it better to practice in one long session or several shorter sessions throughout the day? Is it better to practice every day or to have a day between practice days until your stamina increases?
I wouldn't think about any of that. If this person was training to play on like a, I don't know, NFL team or something, it might be different. Where one of the ingredients to playing on an NFL team is amazing stamina, let's say. Or I don't know what sport would have more stamina, soccer, maybe something like that.
I feel like soccer, man. You ever try running up and down a soccer
Dude,
field?
it's
They're
crazy.
huge.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so there's no doubt in my mind to play high-level soccer, you're going to need high-level stamina. So it might be something that you're actually going to train. But think about low-level soccer. What's the best way to develop stamina for lower-level soccer? You probably just want to play a lot of soccer, right? And then the stamina is going to come out in the wash. So that would be my same thought here. Don't worry about what you're going to do, blah, blah, blah. Just have fun piping, do a lot of it. I feel like as a listener, I would be annoyed by what I'm saying right now, but I'm saying it because I think it needs to be said, right?
Yeah.
I think this is the right answer, is to not do a stamina program. That sounds about as fun as just eating broccoli. Or like, how much broccoli should I eat?
Yeah.
It's like, well, how much stamina should I work on with my piping? How about you just grab a bunch of tunes that look interesting and play a lot for the next several weeks? You're going to get the stamina. So like, just worry about having fun. Like worry about maximizing how much fun you're having, because what was the real cause of this problem? The real cause of this problem is something along the way caused you to choose to not play much anymore and to leave your band. You know, so what kind of activities can we do to prohibit that from happening again sometime soon? Which, by the way, you're in the danger zone right now. The less the period of time that you've been playing happily, continuously, the more risk you're at of dropping off again and not continuing to do it.
Would you imagine a kind of worry for them right now that what if they're so focused on a stamina program that they don't have fun and it turns into another 2 years of not playing with the band?
I feel like these questions, it's not actually about stamina. It's like, how do I do this in a way that I enjoy? Is I think, and by the way, this is super obnoxious as well. I understand that. I've listened to enough of these self-help podcasts.
Yeah.
You just got to find the happiness, man.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, just have fun. Just have fun, and make sure you practice gratitude. Make sure you keep a bagpipe gratitude journal. Make sure you do that too.
Journal, yeah.
Yeah. No, but I'm also being serious. So the way we're going to solve the stamina problem is to just do lots of fun bagpipe playing.
I do think that's really interesting and I'm trying to be cautious that I'm not just like making this true in my memory because I want it to be true, but I think it's accurate. Every once in a while, I'll get filled up with this motivation to learn a specific tune or a specific set. And so I'll get out the Fred Morrison book or the Lincoln Hilton or whatever it is, and I'm excited about that one. I have a few golden memories of gigs that came up at the right time, and I just felt ready as far as stamina goes. I do think there's a strong correlation there. When I was learning that tune, I was putting that book into my bag to take it to work with me, and I was taking at least my practice chanter, maybe even my bagpipes, to play during my lunch break. The focus was on the cool music, and it turned out that because I was so excited about the music, I played way more than usual, like way more than I would have otherwise.
Exactly.
And I like tricked myself into increasing stamina.
But you're not tricking yourself, though. You've figured out what's meaningful and what matters. Think about it. I mean, I guess, so for me, I'm very, very rare, although less and less rare as the years go by, but I use bagpipes to put food on the table.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different for me, but for the vast, vast majority of us, there could be only one reason why you play bagpipes. And that's because you really enjoy it and it really engages you and you have a lot of fun with it. But how many people are out there where that's not actually what's happening when they get their pipes out? Everybody out there, look around your pipe band next time you go and ask yourself, how many of these people are really experiencing great joy right now?
And if they're not, I recommend that they get a gratitude journal.
Yes, gratitude journal. And then if they're not, though, why not?
Yeah.
For me, the answer is, man, we do a lot of these things, right? There's this sort of thing like, oh, bagpipes should take some sort of great stamina in order to be bagpiping. And that doesn't seem true. When you watch the world's best players, are they struggling? I mean, sure, I'm sure they've developed some stamina, but I think they also have an outlook where if I'm struggling, I must be doing something wrong, which is true. You should never be struggling with it. So going back to this particular case, I have a funny feeling that your next band practice won't be as bad anyway, whether you're working on stamina or not. I think you just have to break the ice. Make sure you keep that maintenance going. Make sure that your reed passes the Scott and the Brave test, which is just my way of saying, make sure you can play for a while on your chanter when you mouth blow it, right? Suggesting that you have the basic foundation to sustain it in your full instrument. So make sure your maintenance is good. Make sure your reed is not too hard. Any pipe major, if you speak to them privately, I'm sure will be willing to help you get a reed that gets you back up and running again. And I'm almost certain that your next band practice won't be as bad. Think about all the muscles that go into playing bagpipes. There's your mouth strength, your diaphragm strength, abdominal muscles. Plus you have to stand up for like 2 hours, which is, takes a little bit of effort. Then there's all your arm muscles. So there's all that stuff going on. And at one point you played your bagpipes for 2 straight hours while standing up. I mean, that's going to make you really tired.
Yeah.
But it'll get better. And your body's pretty amazing at being like, oh, here's another one of these situations again. And it'll make adjustments without you needing to worry about too much. Well, I can give you some other practical stamina tips.
Yeah, they did get really specific here about, should I just do a big practice day or do it in small chunks?
Do whatever's fun.
Okay.
So if you're in the mood for
what other tips you have?
If you're in the mood for a big practice day, do that. But if you're not, don't do that. Okay. And then another tip would be get 2 chanters. Okay.
As in bagpipe chanters or
bagpipe
practice
chanters? Yeah.
Okay.
Bagpipe chanters. Find a second one. You usually don't have to buy one. You usually have one laying around. Or if you don't, someone in the band would have one they'd let you borrow for a few weeks. Or usually like, hey, can I borrow that just for a few weeks? And then that's going to be your chanter for life because they're,
Just for a few weeks. Yes. For our listening audience, Andrew Douglas just did air quotes as he said,
yeah,
just for a few weeks.
Yeah, just for a few weeks. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, usually your pipe band has old chanters lying around. So get one going with another reed, and that could be your training reed.
Yeah.
So if you are in the mood, okay, and remember, only do it if it feels fun. We're not going to set like a 12-week progression training plan here. It's a reed that's slightly harder than your current reed. And then on days where you're in the mood, you pop that one in and you play some sets. Just like you would if you were strength training, right? You might strength train heavy weights in order to prepare for playing a soccer game. You might do that. Certainly maybe a basketball game. It helps to be strong. So you might do a little bit of training on the side, okay, in addition to your normal playing of basketball, which hopefully is fun. So you could do, if you're that type of person who finds the idea of a slightly uncomfortable training session to be a fun idea, then you could do that with a backup chanter.
That's interesting that you went that way, because I assumed that you were going to suggest setting up your second chanter as like an extra easy one, so then your band chanter doesn't get messed up, so you have this one you can fall back on. I hadn't really thought of setting it up as a slightly harder one, so then when you come back to your band chanter, it feels easy.
Yeah. By the way, if you're in one of those bands where you're not allowed to touch your band chanter at all in between band practice, you're definitely going to want 1 or 2 backup chanters. And when you practice, here's another hot tip. When you practice on the comfortable reed. That's not super difficult. Hot tip. So during the off season, when I'm practicing my band material, even though I know in the future I'm going to be playing this on a hard pipe, I'm usually playing this on my nice, easy solo pipe. I'm getting the tunes going on the pipes and feeling how it feels on the chanter, getting some practice in. But I'm not really going to train on a hard reed. I'm not going to play the hard reed until later. And it might seem like that's a bad idea, but it's actually a good idea because with my easier, comfortable reed, I'm going to play a lot more, and I'm going to play a lot more often.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And also, like we've talked before about how your brain only has so much bandwidth to be doing a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
On your easier read, I'd imagine you can get that finger work down. And then once that's closer to autopilot, then you can go to the harder read and focus on staying steady.
Exactly. Amen. I do a ton of stuff on my good old-fashioned Blair chanter. You know why? It takes 0 effort to play this puppy. And if it takes 0 effort, that allows me to play for quite a while and continually have a lot of, by the way, it's always perfectly in tune too.
Bonus.
So when it comes to playing, I'll often just jam because if I force myself to play the pipes every day, especially on days where I'm really not in the mood to play my pipes, maybe I'll reach a point where I don't do it for 2 or 3 days in a row. And it's like, well, I haven't done it for 3 days, so I guess it can wait another day. And then you play the next day, but it's pretty short because, my stamina, I guess, and whatever, and geez. And then you take another couple more days off. And before you know it, where have you found yourself? You found yourself on a hiatus.
A 2-year hiatus, perhaps.
Yeah. Meanwhile, when I play my Blair chanter a lot, that gets me itching to get that stuff up on the full pipes too. Makes me want to go get them out. So it all plays into itself. And to me, it all points to the secret ingredient, which is I got to do this in a way that's fun for me.
Yeah. It's not uncommon to encounter, and I'm not necessarily endorsing like a purely materialistic existence or anything, but I think that it can be a useful thing if you've got the means. It's not at all uncommon to encounter people who have made some kind of adjustment to their kit in order to motivate them to practice, at least for a while. That can last for a while, to get going.
Okay, Jim, I'm feeling a little nervous. Where are you going with this?
You can throw this out if you want to. I could even edit it out as if it never happened.
Let's see what you got. I might prefer to just shame you publicly.
Okay, you can shame me about it. Yeah, sure.
If it's bad, but maybe it's good. Let me hear where you're going with this.
I would only pitch this as one tool in the toolbox. One thing that you could do would be something like, hey, I've been on a hiatus for 2 years. I want to get back into piping, having a hard time getting into it. I've never had a long practice chanter. Maybe I'll get a long practice chanter or a fancy, colorful one, or a Blair, or something like that, right? And again, I'm not saying like you must spend money in order to play, but just like sometimes my chords on this set of bagpipes have like little silver decorations on them. Like you can do little things that make it different, that make it fun. Maybe that lasts for 90 days. You're like, oh, it's novel. That's different. And maybe that helps you get rolling is all.
I'm going to say something wild and crazy here. I think you're totally right.
What the?
Makes a lot of sense to me.
What?
Yeah. If a new practice chanter gets you feeling pumped. By the way, it's another thing I say to the legacy bagpipe people. You know the legacy bagpipe people? Are you a legacy bagpipe person?
We meet quarterly, yes.
My bagpipe, to the point where I really need to shine the silver on my pipes. It's getting really bad. But I don't really, actually, I might just get a new set that doesn't have any silver on it.
It's but like when the kid doesn't want to clean the house.
Yeah, shining my silver doesn't get it going for me. But anyway, my bagpipe is a tool to create bagpipe music. And when people are like, oh, my bagpipes are from, as soon as they start to say the word World War, I've lost interest. I'm like thinking about what shape that cloud is in above me. So I'm not a legacy bagpipes person at all. My interest level in legacy bagpipes is so low. And if I had a student, I'm going to encourage them to get a nice modern model and learn whatever. And by the way, I definitely encourage beginners and intermediates not to start on legacy pipes because there's usually added variables there that you have to deal with.
That makes sense.
However, but then here's the big however. If that's the kind of thing that gets you going and fires you up, and if that's your idea of fun, which it is for many people, then that's absolutely what you should do. Like if part of learning the pipes is part of the excitement of it is playing this ancient instrument that's literally played a role in history, That's a pretty cool idea. See, I'm trying to sell it to myself. It's not working. But for some people, that's really fun for them and makes them want to play those suckers every day. Then guess what? That's what you should do, whether or not it adds more variables to the learning process. So I have a general outlook on that, but there's definitely the exception, like if it's fun. So back to your point, Jim, if getting a new practice chanter is going to make you play that sucker every day and get excited about piping again, then that's what you should do.
I think that it goes hand in hand, just to temper it a bit with clarifying, like you don't have to spend money to get it interesting, though that's an option. Is that I think it's the same idea as getting excited about a tune or a set, right?
Yeah.
Bringing a new tune into your sphere, into your repertoire, can have the same exact effect.
Yes.
If I was only playing Scotland the Brave my entire life, I'm sure I could find ways to enjoy that. But having a new tune to learn could have the same psychological trick as having a new chanter to play.
Yeah.
Or a new place to go to play your pipes, or anything that shakes it up.
Playing the bagpipes is just to go back to the merit of the original question. Playing the bagpipes is a physical thing you have to do.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons people love Xbox and Netflix so much is because you just sit there.
It can be nice to just sit there.
You just sit there and you wiggle your thumbs. And nowadays, I think, it's been so long, but I think people wear the headsets and you're just hanging out with your buds, shooting each other, and that's pretty cool. But I mean, there's no physical element to it. Imagine if like you had to, I don't know, it still sounds pretty fun. But imagine if you had to get dressed up in the Halo suit and actually run around and do all that stuff on the screen.
Dude,
you might be a little bit different.
I went to one of those sandbox VR things in Vegas a little while ago with my brother-in-law. It's the coolest thing ever.
Oh, really?
It was basically just that. You put on the headset, but you're in a space where you actually do run around and you have a physical gun in your hand and the zombies are attacked. Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah.
It was a lot of
So
fun.
people would probably still do that. But again, why would they do it though? I think it's because the fun would far outweigh the downside of the physical aspect of it.
To be fair, that was like a one-time event. We traveled to Las Vegas to do that. If that was my day in, day out, I bet I would start to be like, today I'm not going to. That would build up eventually, I'm sure.
I miss just sitting there. Well, and then the Twitch video gamers, it's even more interesting. Like a lot of people don't even play the games.
You watch other people play the games.
Other people play, and it's surprisingly awesome.
Yeah,
You don't have to play, but I guess.
But I often chuckle about that, right? Do you remember being a little kid with the Super Nintendo or the Nintendo 64, like these earlier systems? This is me going back into my memories, and how often I was the little kid, or I was surrounded by the little kids. Like you'd be like, "Well, you can watch," or you'd give them the controller that's not plugged in, or something like that, right? And who'd have thunk that model of watching your friend play or watching your uncle play would actually turn into this multi-millions, maybe billions of dollars watching other people play video games? It's a thing.
You'd always rather play, but when it was your brother's turn with the controller, it wasn't that bad, was it? It was like watching. So you have to do something crappy, which is hand over the controller to your brother so he can take his turn on the video games. And that kind of sucks. But it sucks in the absolute minimal way, doesn't it? Because you still get to watch a really interesting video game.
It's not like you got up and left the room at that point, right? You still stayed to watch.
And
there
it's
was
not
some
like
reason.
You didn't have to do push-ups or chores while it wasn't your turn. You just watched this video game, which is really fun and really interesting. And so there's a great example of how you don't, at least my brother and I, and that's, we actually did occasionally fight, but you didn't really fight that much when you were doing something you didn't want to do, which is like miraculous, which is share. You don't want to, but you have to, but then doing so is not that bad.
It's not so bad, yeah.
It just points to like how important fun is. Imagine if you were like taking turns doing math homework. It'd be a lot different.
Yeah.
Maybe. But then to sit there and watch someone else do math is like not that interesting. I digress. The secret to the stamina thing, even at the highest level, I don't think people are really working on their stamina. I do think there'll be times where it's like, yikes, I'm a little out of shape. I better get back to playing on the full pipes a little bit more. I get it, but it's never, I wouldn't worry about a program. I wouldn't worry about anything. I would just find ways to make playing a lot more often fun so that you'll do it. And then you'll be great.
So then stamina will be a byproduct of having fun piping.
Correct. Stamina will be a byproduct of just having fun piping. Amen, Jim. That's it.
There we go.
That's all my experience points in that direction. And yeah. And by the way, so will other things too. Having fun bagpiping A byproduct of that will also be taking lots of prizes. A byproduct of that will also be getting upgraded to the next level in your pipe band organization or whatever. Have fun with it. One of the reasons I love playing in Inverary is that it's freaking fun. And all the other people standing around are having fun doing it. It's really cool. And we spend some time covering our bases and doing our best to make sure we're competitively successful, but it's at an absolute minimum. And we maximize how much fun we can have when we're doing it.
You know,
that's the vibe to me anyway. By the way, maybe there's guys in the band that are like, this guy is crazy, because I get to just practice on my own and parachute in. It is different. So it might be harder work over the winter and stuff like that, but I don't know. It's just fun. It's fun to get together with other awesome pipers and play. And that's not level dependent. If you're in a grade 4 band, it's the same. These are people who all have fun piping and then focus on having a lot of fun together. How fun is it to go over the freaking breaks another 18 times? Could pipe majors take a break with the breaks?
Take a break with the breaks.
Like, why don't we just have a lot of fun and let the breaks will sort themselves out? Or talking about the breaks once or twice won't be that bad because we're having so much fun.
Yeah.
But you know those practices? It's like, well, got to run that again. The breaks weren't good.
Drill it. Yeah.
Got to run that again. The breaks weren't good. Guys, you got to blow through the low A on the breaks, guys.
Do it right.
Blow through the low A on the breaks, guys. And by the way, blowing through the low A on the break, I get it. We don't want an unsteady low A on the break. But if we just had a lot of fun all the time when we were playing bagpipes, right? You would learn through fun and through having fun sounding good. You'd learn how to keep a steady low A on the breaks.
It's standing out as like really true to me that the people who I've played pipes with who are like full of great insights, who are really helpful. I'm thinking of Mike Swan, who you know, my buddy Zach, other really high level, like really. And I don't mean I only know about their trophies that they've taken. Just like when I hear them play, I know they're good. They sound really good. And they'll point things out about my instrument. They have good insights and ideas all the time. These people are the people whom I know who most love bagpiping.
Here's another one. Have you ever met a piper who has won a bunch of prizes, but when you listen to them play, you're like, huh? They've won a bunch of prizes? You ever met someone like that?
I don't want to say that I have. Yeah,
I've met a lot of people like
I have noticed before. Sometimes you'll hear somebody playing and they're a grade 2 soloist, and you go, because I'm not, and so like I feel kind of like, well, maybe I'm just missing it. But I have wondered a couple times, wait, really?
But my point about a person like that is there's another thing about that person that seems to be consistently true. So I've won all these prizes, but then in your mind you're like, I'm surprised by that, right? But then when you observe their demeanor, you'll find that they take piping very seriously, and they're clearly not having a whole lot of fun, and they're maybe doing this for the wrong reasons.
You know what I can think of 2 individuals where I really have definitely seen exactly that, has been on the internet, but it's been in situations where there's like a group discussion happening in a forum or under a Facebook video or something. And these individuals will actually PM videos of themselves to people as they're being like, I've competed in this many things and I've taken this many prizes. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not new to this, or things like that. Like, bro.
You don't see my favorite pipers on the forums doing that kind of stuff. You know why?
Right? Because they're playing their bagpipes.
Yeah, they're busy having fun playing their bagpipes.
Every time that happens to me, I'm always like, yeah, if you're such a big deal, why don't I know who you are? Why do you have to tell me who you are?
Yeah. And then just picture a great piper in your mind, because I don't want to use any names, because this is already an annoying enough discussion. I don't want to use any names, but picture like your number one favorite piper in the world. If they did show up on the forums to give advice, would you need them to list their accolades?
No.
You'd be like, holy crap.
Right.
It's funny how the world works. But to me, it's like, I sure hope that people are just out there having fun. We had a saying in the Douglas family, and you can take it literally or think about what it actually means. But the thing that we were taught, my dad always said, and still says, there's no crying in bagpiping.
Right? There's no crying in baseball, bagpiping.
That's right. There's no crying in bagpiping, which you should take literally. If you don't win the Worlds, you don't cry about it. Come on. Like some people might be out there, or if you get bad feedback, or if you fall flat on your face, or if you break down, you could be bummed, but let's not be crying about that, right? So you can take it literally, but also it points to the golden rule, which is, I sure hope you're doing this and having a lot of fun, because otherwise, what's the point? Did we answer the question? I'm really, to the Idaho Piper, I'm really sorry. We took your question, which was just a really good question that deserved a straightforward answer, and we just went all self-help podcast all over it. So apologies, but maybe there's some good stuff in there.
Right. Take some comfort in knowing that both Andrew Douglas and myself, we're both absolutely disgusted with ourselves right now.
I know. I have to take a shower.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, Andrew Douglas here from the Piper's Dojo, and I just want to say thanks so much for listening to today's iteration of the podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard here today, it would be super helpful to us and to a lot of bagpipers out there trying to find us if you could give us a top-notch review on whatever platform you're using to listen to this podcast, particularly Apple, iTunes, and Spotify and things like that. Your review would be really, really helpful. So if you have a moment today, definitely go over there and help us out. Other than that, until we meet again on the podcast or somewhere else, thanks again for listening.